Ethan Blake never liked blind dates. They always felt like interviews, two strangers pretending not to be desperate while silently judging each other's smiles, hobbies, and restaurant manners. But when his sister Mia practically shoved him into it, insisting he finally meet someone who wasn't from a job site or a hardware store, he reluctantly agreed. Now he sat at Le Jardin, one of the most elegant restaurants in downtown Seattle, feeling ridiculously out of place. He tugged at the stiff collar of his only decent shirt, the one that still carried faint traces of motor oil no matter how many times he washed it. Around him waiters glided like dancers and wine glasses sparkled like small chandeliers. "She's a CEO," Mia had said over the phone, her voice dripping with excitement. "A real powerhouse. Don't screw this up." A CEO, Ethan, a construction project manager who drove an old truck with a broken AC, had no idea what he'd talk about with a CEO. But he was here now, early, nervous, and very aware of how out of his depth he was. He checked his watch again. 7 o'clock sharp. Then the restaurant door opened. A hush seemed to ripple across the room as a woman entered, poised, elegant, and strikingly beautiful. Her presence commanded attention not because she was glamorous, but because she carried herself with quiet authority. Her black dress flowed neatly to her knees, and her long brown hair framed a calm, intelligent face. But what struck Ethan most wasn't her beauty. It was the sleek black wheelchair she maneuvered effortlessly across the floor. For a brief moment he froze. Not out of pity, but surprise. No one had mentioned she was paralyzed. The hostess guided her toward his table. "Mr. Blake?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. "Yes, Ethan. Please call me Ethan," he stammered, rising awkwardly. "You must be Clara Rowan." He offered a handshake and she took it, firm, confident, professional. "Sorry for being late," she said, smiling faintly. "Traffic and elevators that don't always cooperate." He chuckled nervously. "No worries. I'm just glad you made it." As she positioned her chair at the table, Ethan noticed the glances from nearby diners, quick, curious, some tinged with discomfort. Clara seemed entirely unbothered, her composure unshaken. "Wine," he offered, lifting the menu. "Sure," she said. "Though I might skip the fancy stuff. I'm more of a red in a coffee mug kind of woman." He laughed, surprised. "Good, because I can't pronounce half of these anyway." The ice broke. Rising action. Dinner started awkwardly, polite smiles, forced questions. But soon conversation began to flow. Clara asked about his work, genuinely curious. He told her about long hours on construction sites, the smell of sawdust, and how he loved seeing something tangible rise from an empty lot. "It's grounding," he said. "Everything else in life changes. But a building, that stays." She nodded thoughtfully. "I know what you mean. My company builds software, not skyscrapers, but it's still creation, taking something from nothing." He grinned. "Yeah, except yours doesn't leak when it rains." She laughed, a real, unguarded laugh that lit her face. He found himself watching her more closely. There was strength in her, not just the professional kind but something deeper, carved by hardship and survival. Halfway through the meal, a waiter approached with their main courses. As he set down Clara's plate, he accidentally bumped her wheelchair, causing her wine glass to topple. Red liquid spilled across her dress. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry!" the waiter gasped, scrambling for napkins. Clara brushed it off calmly. "It's fine, really." But Ethan could see her hands tremble slightly as she tried to dab the stain. He leaned forward, grabbed a napkin, and helped without hesitation. "Don't worry about it," he said quietly. "It's just wine. Not the end of the world." As she looked at him, really looked, as if gauging whether his kindness came from pity or sincerity. Then her expression softened. "Most people," she said softly, "don't know how to act around me. They either ignore the chair or overcompensate for it." He met her gaze. "Well, I figured the chair's not who you are." For a long second she didn't reply. Then, almost imperceptibly, she smiled. Climax. By dessert, Ethan realized he'd completely forgotten about her wheelchair. They talked about favorite movies, travel, bad dates, even childhood dreams. She told him she used to love rock climbing before an accident 2 years ago left her paralyzed from the waist down. "I woke up in a hospital," she said, staring at her untouched coffee. "Doctors said I'd never walk again. I remember thinking, what now? My company, my friends, I thought everything would vanish. But it didn't." Ethan asked gently. She smiled faintly. "Some things did. People I thought cared disappeared. But others stayed. I learned who really saw me. Not the accident, not the wheelchair. Just me." He nodded slowly. "That's rare." Silence stretched between them, comfortable, meaningful. Then, as if on cue, a man at a nearby table leaned toward his companion and whispered loudly, "What's a woman like her doing here? She's in a wheelchair, for God's sake." The words hit the air like glass shattering. Ethan's jaw clenched. He turned toward the man, anger flaring. "Hey," he said sharply. "You got a problem?" The man looked startled. "I didn't mean." "Yeah, you did," Ethan cut him off. "And maybe next time try keeping your ignorance to yourself." The restaurant had gone quiet. Clara's eyes widened slightly, then softened. "Ethan," she said gently, placing her hand on his. "It's okay." He looked at her, saw the calm dignity in her expression, the quiet strength that needed no defense. Slowly he exhaled and sat back down. The man muttered an apology and looked away. When Ethan turned back, Clara was watching him, eyes glistening. "No one's ever done that for me," she whispered. "You shouldn't have to fight alone," he replied. For the first time that evening, her composure cracked. A tear slipped down her cheek, but her smile never faded. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for seeing me." And in that moment, Ethan understood. It wasn't just a date gone wrong. It was a glimpse into someone who'd been invisible for far too long. Until now. Following action, they lingered after dinner, talking for hours. The restaurant emptied, but neither wanted to leave. Outside, the night air was cool, the city lights shimmering on wet pavement. Ethan walked beside Clara as she rolled toward the valet station. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "Why agree to a blind date? I mean, you're a CEO. You could probably have anyone you want." She chuckled. "You'd be surprised how fast people disappear when they realize I can't dance, hike, or wear heels." He frowned. "Then they're idiots." She smiled softly. "Maybe. Or maybe they just weren't meant to stay." Her car pulled up, a modified silver SUV with automatic ramps. Ethan watched as she maneuvered in. Graceful and efficient. Before she closed the door, she turned to him. "You know, Ethan, I came here expecting another awkward evening. But you made me feel normal again." "Thank you." He leaned on the door frame, smiling. "You're not normal, Clara. You're extraordinary." For a heartbeat, they just looked at each other. Two people from completely different worlds, connected by something simple and real. "Would you like to do this again?" he asked. "I would," she said, her smile deepening. "But next time, no fancy restaurants. I want to see that construction site you're so proud of." "You've got a deal." As her car drove off, Ethan stood under the city lights, feeling lighter than he had in years. Resolution. A week later, Ethan waited at one of his construction sites, hard hat, coffee in hand, when a familiar SUV pulled up. Clara rolled out, wearing a bright yellow jacket that matched the morning sun. "Welcome to my world," he said, grinning. She surveyed the half-built structure with keen eyes. "You're right," she said. "It's beautiful. Raw and finished, but full of promise." He laughed. "Kind of like people, huh?" She smiled. That same radiant, quiet smile that had stayed with him since that night. For a moment, the noise of drills and hammers faded, and there was only them. Two imperfect people building something fragile yet real. And as Clara turned to him, wind tugging at her hair, she said softly, "You know, Ethan, sometimes the best things in life start from a moment that goes completely wrong." He smiled back. "Yeah," he said. "And sometimes, those wrong moments are exactly what we need." Their laughter mingled with the morning air. Not loud, but strong enough to echo across the half-built walls, the kind of sound that promised beginnings.